What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 142 here on the 4th of July. And we are going to finish up the week that was in week 13. With me this week from right down that hallway, he is now known as the Batman villain. I'm calling him Poison Ivy, Ben Nisman. How you doing today, Ben?
Doing great, Joe. It's been a rough week, and last week was probably even tougher. Happy 4th of July to you and the whole league. What a hell of a week we had last week, and we're still talking about it, even though it's already Thursday. But there's a lot to break down, man, because every single one of these matchups that we're going to discuss had something very, very pivotal that could change and alter the league. This doesn't feel like one of those changing weeks that we're going to remember, but it very well could be because of the very matchup we're about to discuss. It wasn't pretty, Joe, and I guess let's just get right into it. So, without further ado, lead us off on that.
Let's get going, boys, and let's dive into that one that Ben is dreading. It's the blowout of the season for you, my friend. How do you feel looking at this thing? It's a 14-5 finish.
Yeah. Listen, it only feels badly, Joe, because it should have been a little bit closer. There was at no point that I was winning this matchup. A lot of things happened that too many circumstantial things needed to occur in order for me to win it. It's very possible, and we'll get into it a little bit. But in general, I wasn't going to win this week. It's just those extra ones, that relief appearance stat on the bench, that double that I could have found. The RBI was just a one choice difference, and there was a consideration about doing it on Saturday. So those circumstances that make the difference, that it could be 14-7, 13-8, something just a little closer, but we know how every single stat matters. So if you lose, at least pick up the team a little bit and pick up yourself and make good decisions. And I made good decisions this week. And Henry would say he made some decisions that he shouldn't have as well, and he left some relief appearance stats on the bench. So we're both thinking in the same way, but we both know that every stat matters for both of us. So I'm not feeling great, but there is still a good amount of season left.
No doubt. No doubt. It was 14-5 going in on Saturday. On Sunday, triples were tied, and Henry got that one. Stolen bases, Henry had a one stolen base advantage, and you ended up tying that back up to leave it at 14-5. Close categories this week, you win by 3 runs and 2 home runs. Henry wins by the double, the triple, 2 RBIs, 2 errors, 3 2/3 on the innings, 2 wins, 2 saves, and 2 walks by a pitcher.
How many close stats were there compared to how many close? I had two. The runs, right?
The runs and the homers. And he
Yeah.
had basically everything else. You guys did tie in stolen bases and relief appearances with 23 on the week. 23, and you couldn't win the category there.
No, no. And I was playing it as aggressively as I felt like I could. Still needed to think about the minimum, but yeah, it's more the moves that I made versus the moves that I didn't make, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that made the difference and just bringing me further behind.
Well, we'll get to those in just a moment. For Henry on his bench this week, Benji, he goes 7 for 33.
Perfect. Nice prime number for me.
Yep, we're starting it off
Uh,
difficult.
uh, two, 227.
212. 212 with 2 runs, 4 doubles, and 11 strikeouts. None of it plays. His moves this week, he started off dropping Ahmed Rosario for Sean Jelly, 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, and a relief appearance. He dropped Jelly for Roansy Contreras, 3 innings, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 3 and a 2 versus Oakland. He then dropped Roansy Contreras for Bo Brisky, a clean relief appearance. Dropped Gavin Sheets for Justin Martinez, a clean relief appearance. Dropped Joey Meneses for Nathaniel Lowe, 1 for 4 with an RBI and a strikeout. And dropped Shea Langoliers for Austin Wells, 0 for 3, a walk, a strikeout, and an error, all on the same day, those 4 moves. He drops Brisky for Garrett Clevenger for a clean relief appearance. And drops Hogan Harris for Ahmed Rosario, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. His MVP this week is Bobby Witt Jr. and might be one of the best players in the league this year. 320 with a 414 on base, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 2 triples, an RBI, a steal, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. His least valuable hitter is going to Tyler Freeman, a 176 with a 300, 3 runs, an RBI, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. The Cy Young this week goes to Zach Gallen. Welcome back from the IL. 6 innings, a win, a walk, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 0.33 whip. The Cy Young goes to his trade acquisition, Luis Gil, 4 1/3, a loss, a bomb, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 10.38, and a 1.85. Ugly start from Luis Gil. All right, Benjamin, on your bench this week, you went 4 for 13.
I could do better than that. 324.
308. Not as bad. 3 runs, a double, a homer, 3 RBIs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. The double comes from whom, Benjamin?
Mauricio Dubon, when he wasn't even starting that day, but nobody else decided to start that day. So because he was the earlier guy, I pulled him out just in case. He should have been in the whole time. That one really, really stinks. I know exactly where I was when I saw it, where I was going. That one was brutal.
Rough. For your moves this week, you dropped Slade Ciccone for Garrett Stubbs, 2 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. You dropped Bryce Jarvis for David Dahl, 1 for 2 with a strikeout. Dropped Johnny Brito for John Schreiber, who gave you a clean relief appearance. You dropped Garrett Stubbs for Caleb Ferguson, who was awful in his relief appearance. He dropped Wandy Peralta for Jacob Webb, 2/3 of an inning, a walk, and a strikeout in a relief appearance. Dropped Dustin May for Kenta Maeda, 5 1/3, a bomb, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a 3.38, and a 1.31 in LA against the Angels. Not terrible. Dropped David Dahl for Frankie Montas, 6 innings of the loss, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, a 150 and an 0.83 in St. Louis. That was a good start that he took the tough luck loss there. Dropped Kenta Maeda for Aaron Savale, 5 2/3, a loss, a home run, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 3.18 and a 1.76 against Washington. You dropped Savale for Joey Wentz, who didn't appear, and dropped Jacob Webb for Rafael Montero, who did not appear. The MVP this week, CJ Abrams, 500 with a 640 on base percentage, 5 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 5 walks, 2 strikeouts, and an error. The least valuable hitter goes to Charlie Blackmon, who didn't get a hit in 5 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to the combination of MacArthur and Esteves, who had 7 relief appearances, 4 saves, nothing earned, an 0.25 and an 0.67 whip, respectively, across 7 total innings. The Cy Young goes to Jack Flaherty, 5 2/3, a loss, 3 bombs, a walk, 7 strikeouts is nice, but a 7.94 and a 1.41. It was a decent pitching week for you, man. You did pitch to a 4 ERA, give up 7 homers to Henry's 2. I mean, Henry pitched his ass off, did he not?
Yeah, he won every single pitching category except relief appearances. And I was almost better off just playing to the minimum even further and just seeing if I could back away from, I don't know, maybe I get away with losses, if I'm a little bit more careful and I end up tying that category. But it was really, really hard to catch up. But just couldn't gain any momentum in that direction. It all started with David Peterson, who got the first 3 guys on base for the Yankees and managed to close it up. And the Mets ended up sweeping that series, and it was big. But like these things, like Luis Gil, he didn't take the loss, right? Because no, he did. He actually is one of the guys that took the loss. But one of the things that you didn't mention is besides the Mauricio Dubon double was on Saturday, Michael Bush with a bomb, a two-run bomb on the bench that would have tied RBIs.
Mhm.
Um, but even with that, right? Even if I also thought that Yarborough was set up to pitch on Sunday because he pitched 3 innings on Friday, and because Saturday's Dodgers game went so late and so many innings, Yarborough threw on Saturday, and he was the one guy that I was convinced wouldn't pitch, and he was on the bench. And Henry made some mistakes too. He left some guys on the bench as well. But one thing that I was just, and I love Henry, by the way, but I specifically say, you know, everyone knows, like, there's a reason why I don't want to talk during the week. You and I are an exception. We're roommates. We kind of have to go through this. But, and I preface it by saying I love Henry because I, I, I want to hear from Henry any single time. And I appreciate when he texts me. But this is what I got. This, by the way, there's one game that started. One game that started. Okay.
On a Monday.
Right. I'm up 3-2. It's all downhill from here. I'm up 32 exclamation point. It's all downhill from here. So I asked why he thought that. And he said, because my team is on life support. Mind you, he was 3 games under 500 going into this week. Because my team is on life support and you've been running away with this thing each week. I said, as long as there are two hardworking managers, and I specifically said that because we know that there are some guys in our league, there's only a couple of them that don't work as hard as everyone else, like Henry, like myself. We know the group, right? As long as there are two hardworking managers, any team can beat any team on any given week.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I appreciate that, but I'm just hoping to mitigate the loss. Peterson going 4 1/3 is probably the biggest kick in the nuts. That was just something that happened in Tuesday. But again, that was on what, Tuesday. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that feeling also. Like, that is annoying, but still a lot of week left. So
And he
then I
won
asked him if,
innings pitched by 3 2/3.
no doubt, anyone wins.
Yeah.
Anyone. So I asked if he was feeling a little better because it was 4:09 on Sunday. I finally texted back, and I'm just like, we know what was going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
A mediocre team is approaching a triple up, an all-time great. Um, that's an all oversimplification. I was expecting more things to change today. Um, and this was because, oh, sorry, he said he'll feel better when the games are remaining, but honestly, he's confused how it was wrapped up the way it did. So it's just, to me, you just don't know. If a team doesn't execute, there's nothing one I can't do anything differently. I can't make the hitters hit. I can't make the pitch. I have this thing with Costas all the time. He's like, man, I can't believe you lost to Frank, or I can't believe you lost to this guy. Dude, I don't play for the teams. Like, honestly, I just don't that's the one thing. Like, I respect how you guys feel about the bigs. That
Mm-hmm.
we believe that it's more than 50% luck. Like, sorry, it's like over 55% skill, right? Something like that. But even if that's the case, like, again, we have to remember that we're all cognitively coherent enough that we can make decisions daily and they can work out our way. And I feel like this is going to be a theme for this episode because I feel so great, and I'm not, listen, I'm not saying I've never done it. As like last week we were talking about on Sunday, and I said, I don't think I'm gonna win against Brian Lebo, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what happened? You were right, and I was wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
the difference is I also don't do that all the time. And I'm not saying that Henry or other people do, but I was also saying it on Sunday, not on Monday. I think there's a difference.
A vast
So
difference because most of that week was already in the bag, and Brian was hitting the cover off the ball to start on Sunday, so you were feeling like, okay, this is going to be one of Brian's big Sundays, and it just didn't play out that way. Whereas with
started
Henry,
that way, but you're right.
whereas with Henry, we're in the first game of Monday. It's the two polar extremes it possibly could be.
Yeah, yeah. Because if he was right, he's like, wow, he called it. Not like, oh, that's obvious. Yeah, he was gonna lose to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It would be like him saying that, dude, was still to me a bold prediction that he was just gonna
Oh
lose.
yeah,
He was trying
yeah.
to mitigate the loss. Like that to me was bold because, like, again, the league is constructed in such a way that any team can beat any team. And it's
Mm-hmm.
constructed in a way that teams can come back late, like we've seen. And it's also constructed in a way that a guy can blow someone out and that it
Mm-hmm.
isn't as close as it is. Because, like, the law of averages exists, but there are outliers.
Yeah.
So,
It happens every week. We see a surprise finish or a surprise upset or one big blowout. I mean, we see it every single week. It shouldn't
yeah,
be a surprise anymore.
yeah. It's just, it's this to me is just what I see happening pretty often in our league. You do it, I do it, others do it. The confidence
Mhm.
is low. And I have to remind myself, like, it's just your confidence. Again, like, you don't control what the players are doing. You put them in, but at the end of the day, they're either going to execute or not. So
Right.
we
Right.
just do the best and we make appropriate decisions based on what's going on and you play to the score. And Henry deserves a lot of credit, man. He
Oh
played his
yeah.
ass off and he won so many stats close, so many stats. And I just could not find a way to get through. On Monday, I had a pitcher lined up. I didn't pull the trigger. It was great. On Tuesday, he was going against the same team, and I was thinking they're cold. I didn't pull the trigger. And
Mhm.
because I didn't make those two moves on Tuesday, it made me make moves later on in the week that absolutely dismantled me versus I would have been playing tighter on certain stats throughout the week versus having to play from behind. And I think Henry just did a brilliant job gaining momentum, holding the momentum. And then I knew this Sunday triple was happening because that's just my thing now. From last year till this year now, that's what happens. But I I give the guy credit because he turned three under 500, six over, and he's in a good position here. He's facing Ari now.
Mhm.
He doesn't have a very brutal schedule if he wanted to go through it, but he's he can do it. Like he can do this. He absolutely has the skill. I think he has got enough experience now. He knows because he's gotten that shutout on Ari in the last year. To me that was proving his maturity, how he can actually work this thing specifically on Sunday to pull off a 21 nothing. That takes skill even in your first year. So the guy is a playoff team. He's dangerous, and let's see if he can pull this off. But I think it is in his grasp, and there's no reason to think based on what that he can't do it. I don't love his offense. I don't. I don't love his offense at all. He managed freaking enough RBIs to keep up with me and beat me with
Mhm.
29 this week, which was extremely frustrating because I felt like 27 should do it. But I give him a lot of credit, Joe. He played really, really well this week.
Absolutely, and he gets a ton of credit for taking down a three-time champion, the commissioner of this league, the creator, and the reason we are all here.
Thanks.
Let's dive into the next matchup here, buddy. Let's talk about Mike Haber and Jimmy Dunlap. Jimmy took down a 10-9 loss this week to Mike Haber. How you feeling seeing Mike rattle off another win here?
I'm blown away because this was one of these awesome matchups that just went back and forth, and I kind of felt like it would have that because Jimmy was due to have some kind of life. But man, to see Mike just turn it around and get that win, even though it's Mike Haber, it was still impressive the way he pulled it off.
No doubt. No doubt. It was 18-3 at one point in this matchup. It was 12-8 going in for Mike. It comes out 10-9 in his favor. On Sunday, Jimmy came back down 3 runs to tie that category. Errors were tied, and Mike took 2 of them on Sunday. Mike had a 4 innings advantage and lost that, and Jimmy had a 6 home run advantage given up by a pitcher, and he ended up tying that by throwing as many innings as he did. So again, 12-8 in Mike's favor going in, 10-9 Mike win coming out. Close categories this week. Jimmy wins by 2 batters, or 2 home runs by a batter, 4 walks by a batter, and 2 errors, 2 wins, 4 walks by a pitcher, and 4 ticks on the whip. Mike wins by the 3 doubles, a triple, 2 RBIs, 3 losses, and 3 relief appearances. They tied in home runs by a pitcher. For Mike on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 5 for 28. Not making it easy for you this week.
Clearly not. 182.
It was 179. Good job, dude.
Thanks.
5 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 6 RBIs, 4 steals, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and an error. The 5 runs would have played. That's the only thing that really matters here. There was a home run on the bench on Sunday that might have been the difference here. For his moves this week, he picks up Nathaniel Lowe, who goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, drops Aaron Savale for Spencer Turnbull, 3 innings, a homer, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 3, and a 1 against Detroit in Comerica. He drops Alec Marsh, and he drops Alec Marsh as well. Spencer Turnbull left with a shoulder injury, and he's now on the IL. That sucks. Nathaniel Lowe dropped for Zach Neto 0 for 2 with a steal, a run, a walk, and a strikeout. He drops Turnbull for David Festivus for the rest of us. 5 innings, a win, a homer, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 9, a 160 in Arizona. He drops Festa for Jose Quintana, drops Quintana for Griffin Canning. 6 innings, a homer, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 6, and a 133 against Detroit. And finally, drops Eduardo Rodriguez, as he's been holding that guy all year, and picks up Luis Garcia, who's coming back from the IL. He then drops Griffin Canning for Andrew Heaney, which was a bluff, and then dropped Heaney for Davis Daniel, who was starting on Monday. The MVP this week, who the hell else is it? It's the guy who's just absolutely destroying the ball this season. It's Aaron Judge. 524 with a 615 on base percentage, 6 runs, a double, 3 homers, 12 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. On the season, the guy has over 30 home runs already. He's got 32 homers, 83 RBIs at the All-Star break. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Some of the numbers that he's putting up in
Absolutely
OPS, they say they've never been done before at this point in the season, which is funny because he had a slow start, right? He had kind of a slow April. So
yeah,
it's funny how
he's absolutely turned it on and he's been insane. He's been insane, and he's carried Mike this far, along with Marcell Ozuna, who's also having a really nice season.
And another thing is, like, you think Judge was a little banged up in spring. They maybe had to kind of work his progression and still be working the kinks out during the regular season before he came to form. So yeah,
No
Judge
doubt.
is something else, man, because I always think that there's gonna be that regression and he continues to impress.
Absolutely. The only question with him is always health. Like, if he stays healthy, he's capable of doing these things. It's just a matter of him staying on the field.
Mhm.
The least valuable hitter this week is Maikel Garcia, 063 with an 063, a run, a triple, an RBI, and 3 strikeouts. I do want to give a shout out to Zach Neto, who had 077, and Ozzie Albies, who had 179. The Cy Young goes to Dednell Nunez, 4 2/3, 2 wins, a walk, 3 strikeouts, nothing earned, to 107 and 2 relief appearances. Guy got into 2 games and won them both for us, Benji.
Yeah, I'll take it, man. Anytime. The bad is felt pretty bad. The good is felt great. The bad is felt pretty bad.
Yeah. Luis Castillo is going to be the Cy Young for Mike this week. 10 1/3, a loss, a bomb, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, a 610, and a 145. For Jimmy on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 5 for 35.
Oh, sure. I should be able to do this. One for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 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 07, 076, 06 or 7.
It's 143.
Oh, duh.
You did a 1 for 14.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is even harder. Some more credit to you.
Thanks.
3 runs, a double, 3 RBIs, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. The 3 runs certainly would have played, and the 3 RBIs are interesting as well, as he lost that by 2. His moves this week: he drops Chas McCormick for Colt Keith, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, and adds Sam Mole for a clean relief appearance. He drops Colt Keith for Kyle Hendricks. 7 innings, a loss, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a 257 and an 086 in San Francisco. He drops Brandon Lau for Brendan Rodgers, 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts and an error. Thanks for showing up, guy. He drops Kyle Hendricks for Patrick Bailey on a waiver claim, 0 for 3 with a run, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. He drops Jordan Montgomery for Kyle Hendricks again, 3 2/3, a loss, 2 bombs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a 17-18, and a 218 in Milwaukee. You got away with it once. You can't get away with it twice.
Interesting.
And then on Sunday, he dropped out 4 guys: Yohan Ramirez, Sam Mole, Noli Paredes, and Tyler Soderstrom. For Yanni Chirinos, 4 1/3, a bomb, a walk, 4 strikeouts, a 623 and a 231 in Philly. Patrick Corbin, 6 innings, a loss, 2 homers, a walk, 5 strikeouts, a 6 and a 150 in Tampa. Kyle Freeland, 6 2/3, a homer, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 270 to 135 in the South Side of Chicago. And John Kenzie Noel, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. This dude Noel, he's the new Franmil Reyes / Oscar Gonzalez in Cleveland. He's this big hulking slugger who strikes out a whole fucking bunch. His MVP this week goes to Wyatt Langford, who hit for the cycle, 308 with a 400, a 4 runs, a double, a triple, a bomb, 4 RBIs, 4 walks, and 4 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter goes to Nolan Gorman, a 100 with the 250, a run, a steal, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. He did hit a grand slam recently. I think that was benched. That might have happened. I remember we were watching that grand slam.
Sure. I don't remember.
The Cy Young goes to Christopher Sanchez, a complete game, 9 innings win with 9 strikeouts, nothing earned, in an 0.33. The Cy Young goes to Carlos Rodon, 5 innings, a loss, 2 bombs, a walk, 8 strikeouts, a 14.40, and a 2.20 whip. Benjamin, I think we're in the agreement that Mike Haber is going to make the playoffs this year, and the question is whether or not he's going to get a bye. But the question I have for you is another former champion, and Jimmy Dunlap. Is his season circling the drain like he believes it is? Turn out the lights on his season?
No, I don't. I actually think, if anything, this is the time to be afraid because we're not even in the third act yet. There's still a good amount of season for a team to go on a run. So I think the fact that he kept this close, I know he did have a lead at one point, kind of late in this matchup, but even still, he mitigated an uglier loss on Sunday by grabbing back a couple of categories. And Mike keeps doing it. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose to him, and you lose close. I think that's a good spot for him. I think the rest of his schedule is fine. Basically, he should be okay now. I'm not saying that he is going to make the playoffs. I'm just saying that. I mean, the fact that he's only 22 under. Come on, like tell me one run you can't make that happen. There's
Yeah,
not that.
you can make that
The only,
happen 3 weeks.
yeah, the only yeah, exactly, because a lot of teams are going to be playing each other. And if like a blowout happens on a team that's in the race, all of a sudden they're going to be closer to 500. And that's where you kind of want to be at some point early in the third act. If you do that, you have guys kind of starting to sweat, worried about, oh, should I use the ad here? Should I not? It changes every other decision everybody else makes. And you, listen, I've made the playoffs by one stat before. I've made the playoffs by a stat and a half before. I've missed the playoffs by a stat and a half. No one has felt a more brutal beating than Jimmy took in 2021. Okay.
Mhm.
2019, he missed it by a stat and a half in his first year, and Chris Levy just missing out. And then in 2021, he ties Costas with the same exact record of wins, losses, and ties, and lose because their matchup during the season. I mean, I'm not going to. He's taken some tough losses, but he's a champion, right?
Mhm.
These are the last two champions in our league in 22 and 23 just faced off here, and they gave you a brilliant performance, arguably the matchup of the week.
No
And
doubt.
it was just amazing to watch. Mike has just been he's so locked in. It's just so incredible what Mike Haber is doing season to season to season now. It's getting more and more impressive. The fact that there's no sophomore, not sophomore, but championship hangover, if you will, with Mike
Mhm.
Haber, that he just kept on going. And the fact that we're even talking about, yeah, Mike is in a bye. Not like, oh, Mike, maybe Mike doesn't make the playoffs. No, Mike is in the playoffs, but it's just how far can he go at this point? His goal is back to back, obviously, but one thing at a time. It's just mowing down fantasy opponents, and that's what he's doing. Incredible job by both these managers. I love both of these guys, and I love what they bring to the league.
Absolutely. We love these guys. And here's the thing, I want to go over Jimmy's schedule if you could pull that up for us here momentarily.
Sure.
Because I feel like this is one of those things where you could see a run, but only if it lines up nicely for him. I mean, he can't have a murderer's row of opponents here in the next 8 weeks and expect to do amazing things. So you've got his schedule in front of you.
Yes, I do.
Perfect.
Okay, so he faces Brian Lebo this. Then he's got
Mhm.
Henry the following week, and then myself to start that next round of guys you played already. And that's your final 7 weeks. So it starts with me, then Ari, then it's you, then it's Cody, then it's Adam, then it's Jay Ferraro, and he finishes with Mike Sherman.
It's pretty 50-50. You know what I mean? Like this is not a murderer's row. He's got
No,
both Sherman and Ari on the schedule,
yes,
and
yes,
he's got Brian Lebo right now.
yeah. And if Henry's offense can't bring it that particular week because it's
Mhm.
suspect for me, then that might be on the line that week. And then I don't know, right now he's an under 500 team. Maybe he's
Mhm.
the kind of team that's just like, just not strong at the end. Maybe he is, but just saying, besides you and Jay, and if you want to say me, if my team has hit like dog duty this week, and last week they were starting to show off as well, but if you can call me a dangerous opponent, I'd say really two guys that you really have to be scared of. I would say is Jay and you, followed by myself and Cody. But
Mhm.
other than that, then the next group would be Henry and Adam, and then you got Sherman and
Sherman
Ari.
and Ari.
Like, yeah, those four tiers really to me, and I'd sign up for that, man. Like, I think that's a beneficial schedule. You'd rather him be like a little bit closer to 500 than where he is, but he can do this. I
He
mean,
can do
he's gonna try. He's gonna try his ass off. We know that.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's going to be dangerous in the second here in this final act. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. All right, let's move on to the next matchup here, Benjamin. We're going to talk about Frank Bucco taking down an 11-7 win over Adam Lowenstein. What did you see here?
Well, I felt like there was no stopping Adams' offense. The first 3 days, I'd never seen anything like it. His offense just exploded. You're like, yeah, my God, well, Frank, what the hell are you going to do about Adams' offense right now? And
Mhm.
Adams and Frank, he just clawed his way back, just little by little, just took those other, all right, you'll take those offensive steps. I'll go in another direction here.
Mhm.
And he pulled it off, man. He did such a beautiful job here. I did not think, based on what was going on offensively, despite what Frank's offense was doing, Adams' offense wasn't going to be stopped by anyone in those first few days. So the fact that Frank finds a way to claw back and not only just get it close, make it like 11-9, he turns everything around. He gets this win. Great win for
Yeah.
him.
Strong win for Frank Bucco, who's now on a little bit of a winning streak here. He's got, what, 4 or 5 in a row?
No, it's not quite that. I think it's closer to three, but I
Okay.
can give it to you. Hang on, what's his team name? Hold Me Close,
Hold Me
Otani
Closer,
Dancer. Yeah,
Otani
it's three.
Dancer. 3
Three.
in a row.
Yeah,
That's great. That's
yeah.
great. It was 10-9 going in. It's 11-7 coming out on Sunday. Adam had a 2-run advantage, and Frank tied that. Adam also had a 4-walk advantage, and Frank tied that. Wins were tied, and Frank took that down. So again, 10-9 coming in, 11-7 going out. Close categories this week. Frank wins by 1 strikeout by a hitter, 2 wins, and 10 ticks on the whip. Adam wins by 29 ticks on the ERA, and they tied in runs, walks, and saves with 0. For Frank on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 0 for 0. He didn't have anything on the bench this week. His moves this week, he drops Freddie Fermin for Ben Rortvedt, 1 for 4 with a double, an RBI, and 2 strikeouts. He drops Bo Brisky for Grant Holmes, 2 innings, a walk, a strikeout, a 9, and a 250 in a relief appearance. He drops Greg Weissert for Dylan Lee, clean relief appearance. Drops Ben Rortvedt for Ryan Jeffers, 1 for 4 with 2 runs and a walk. He drops Eloy Jimenez for Byron Buxton, 3 for 4, 3 runs, a homer, and 3 RBIs. Thank you very much, Byron Buxton. You're going to stay on the team for a minute. He drops Dylan Lee for Anthony Bonda, who got a relief appearance, Grant Holmes for Zach Kelly, clean relief appearance, and Luke Raley for Josh Winkowski, 5 innings, a win, a strikeout, and an 080 whip against San Diego. Nothing earned in his start on Sunday. He picked that dude up on Friday. He drops Josh Stamont for Seth Martinez, who was horrible in his relief appearance. His MVP this week, a trade acquisition in Vinny Pasquantino, 407 with a 414 on base, 5 runs, a double, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. It is going to be interesting to see what he does when Tristan Casas comes off the IL, though, because he doesn't like to carry a bench, and he's got 2 pretty evenly matched first basemen, in my opinion. I'll be interested to see what he does with them.
Well, I mean, can't just, they both play.
I mean, I would
If you
think
want to
so.
bench, yeah, I guess we got to bench Otani. You can't bench Otani.
Nope, can't bench Otani. So you're playing one or the other every day. Be interesting. It'll be interesting, but we've got time on that. The least valuable hitter goes to Marcus Semien, 065 with a 121, an RBI, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. The Cy Young this week goes to Charlie Morton, 6 1/3, a win, a walk, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 063. The Cy Yuck goes to Tanner Houck, who was not good. 11 innings, a loss, 3 bombs, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, a 736 and a 145. For Adam on his bench this, I didn't even total this one up. Hang on.
Well, I guess while you're doing that, I will say that right now, if there was, and I talked about the theme of the show being, the confidence, you want to say something about Frank. It's that no matter how far down he is in the standings, if there's time, he believes. And while I'm thinking I'm going to lose 14-7 to Joe this week, maybe I'll be maybe a little worse, and then I'll be 6 over 500, something like that, going into my matchup against Ari. This guy is, whether he takes this loss or not, doesn't matter to him. He comes out with the win here, 3 in a row for Frank.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's great.
It's amazing. Frank is getting himself back toward 500. That's his goal here, is to get to 500 first, and then maybe make a push. He's in it. He's in it to win it, and he's got. I'd like to take a look at his schedule after we're finished with this, but
Yep.
do have Adam's bench now. Ben on his bench this week. It's a nice 5 for 15.
Thanks. 333.
Yes, sir. With 3 runs, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The runs would have played, and the 3 walks certainly would have played. Only 3 moves this week. He drops Kyle Tyler for Carson Spires. 6 innings, a win, a walk, 5 strikeouts, a 450 and a 133 against Pittsburgh. He drops Jorge Mateo for Dylan Moore on a waiver claim. He benched an 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, so good job. And then he dropped Carson Spires for Cade Povich, 5 innings, a win, 2 homers, 3 strikeouts, a 360, and a 1 against Texas. The MVP this week is going to be Jonathan India, who was absolutely outstanding. 538 with a 613 on base, 8 runs, 10 doubles. The man hit 10 doubles this week. 5 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, and an error. 10 doubles in a week from one dude. That's ridiculous.
Found this guy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was just out there on waivers for somebody. All right. The least valuable hitter goes to Bo Bichette. 167 with a 286, 5 runs, a double, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to Grayson Rodriguez. 7 innings, a win, 2 homers, 4 walks. 4 strikeouts, a 257 and an 071. The Cy Young goes to Nick Pivetta. 4 innings, a loss, a homer, a walk, 4 strikeouts, an 11.25 and a 2. So, Benji, we're thinking that both of these guys might be just outside looking in the playoffs this year. However, like I said earlier, I want to take a look at Frank's schedule and see exactly what he's got on tap. You said it was quite a murderer's row. And if that's the case, it's nice that he's getting this little bubble up right now, but it might get a little bit worse for him.
Yeah, it's what was concerned about when I looked at his season, because I thought about who he has to play twice and what he had to deal with in the first 7 weeks. Well, the thing is, in the first 7 weeks, he actually did pretty well. 12-9, 9-12, 11-10, 12-8, and then it starts to get ugly towards the end. But in general, he was around 500. It's just that he suffered 6 losses in a row before this 3 week winning streak. But this is what he's got to finish with here: is Jay Ferraro, and then Mike Sherman, and then Costas, Bobby, Josh, Joe, Jason, Mike, Brian Lebo. That seems tougher to me than what we went through with Henry or
Agreed.
Jimmy.
Agreed. I think it's pretty stacked against Frank right now, but we're going to see Frank do what Frank does. He's going to try to do everything he can to win each and every day, let alone each and every week.
Right. And I would say that even this what's tough for Frank is that this week against Jay is more of a must win, because Jay is in front of you and he's a guy you're going to have to worry about getting in and stealing one of those 6 spots. So if you can catch him a little bit on this week, okay. So if you don't win, Then next week against Mike Sherman, a guy that knocked him out in the playoffs last year, even
Mhm.
though he's not really close, and you'd say, well, it's more important to get the guys that are closer. You got to beat a bad team. So it's tough, man, because it's going to be hard just to get to 500 first, and then is it going to be a thing like last year where you needed 34 over 500 to get in? It's not feeling like it's going to be like that this year, but there'll be more bad teams this year or under 500 teams this year. So
Mhm.
you just got to keep it close every week. If you're going to lose, keep it close. And same thing with Adam right now, right? Because he's been able to find a way to keep things close. He's gotten some clutch
Mhm.
wins. He tied Jay Ferraro. Um,
He's
it,
sitting
it,
10
it
games
hasn't been.
under 500. He's in this thing. He's in this fight.
It's doable. He's got Jason now, but then Mike Haber, Brian Lebo, Henry, myself, Ari, Jimmy, Cody, and he finishes with Jo Schubert. I don't know, man.
That
That
last
one
three
doesn't
weeks
feel good.
sounds pretty rough. That last three
Yeah,
weeks sounds a little rough.
yeah, yeah,
Um, well, we'll see. We'll see. If he can
yeah,
put himself in a position where those final 3 weeks matter,
yeah,
then even that's an accomplishment.
yeah. If he can get like a 14-5 on Ari, like a +9 just right there,
Mhm.
go from there in the last 3 weeks. We'll see.
Right. Right. We'll see. All right, let's move on to our final matchup this week, Benjamin. It is going to be Bobby Russo taking down a 14-5 win over Mike Sherman. What'd you see here?
Yeah, I knew what was going to happen all along. I felt like because I knew the manager's devotions on Sunday, I felt pretty confident that Bobby would find a way to pull this out. Even though he was down, he had a flip. I know we're going to talk about a good amount of flip categories here, but it just seemed like it was set up that way. It was surprising that it was this far, but I think Bobby had it all along.
Bobby had it all week, it looks like. He did have a 10-9 lead going into Sunday, and it comes out 14-5. What the hell happened? Runs were tied, and Bobby took that. Mike had a stolen base advantage, and Bobby took that. Mike had a walk advantage, and Bobby took that. Mike had a batting average and on base advantage, and Bobby took both of those. Mike had a one home run advantage on the pitching side, and he gave up a bomb. And Bobby had a 4 strikeout advantage, so at least Mike took one back, but it ends up 14-5. Close categories this week. Bobby wins by the 3 runs, the steal, the walk, 2/3 of an inning pitched, 2 losses, and 2 relief appearances. Sherman wins by 2 saves and 2 strikeouts, and they tied in triples and home runs given up by a pitcher. For Bobby on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 1 for 17.
Nice. Uh, oh, oh, 76.
059. It's even better than
Uh,
that. 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, and an error. None of it plays. His moves this week, and Bobby had mentioned to us a while ago that he's not exactly the guy who sets up for the next week. I find it interesting that that happened, and yet he still used all 10 this week. So on Monday, he dropped Sam Long, MJ Melendez, Jared Schuster, and Kyle Freeland. Pick up Wilmer Flores over 4 with an RBI, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. He dropped Wilmer Flores. He added Michael Tonkin, an inning and 2/3, a win, a homer, a strikeout, a 540, and an 060 in Toronto. He adds Mickey Moniak 0 for 3 with a run, an RBI, and a strikeout, and Austin Adams, who was awful in his relief appearance. He adds Orlando Arcia 1 for 3. He adds Edmundo Sosa 2 for 4 with an RBI and an error. He drops Edmundo Sosa for Calvin Fauché, 2/3 of an inning, a walk, and a bad relief appearance. He drops Austin Adams for Robert Garcia, who did not appear. He dropped Calvin Fauché and Michael Tonkin for Justin Anderson, who had a clean relief appearance. And finally dropped Justin Anderson for Nick Vespi, who was awful in his relief appearance. The MVP this week goes to Vlad Guerrero. 500 with a 536 on base, 6 runs, 5 doubles, 4 homers, 17 RBIs. A walk, 3 strikeouts, and 2 errors. 17 RBIs in a week from one guy.
Yeah.
Yep. The least valuable hitter is Alex Bregman at 130 with a 167, 4 runs, a double, 3 RBIs, a walk, 3 strikeouts, and an error. The Cy Young goes to Tanner Bybee. 12 innings, 2 wins, 2 bombs, a walk, 10 strikeouts, a 2.25, and an 0.83. The Cy Young goes to Bobby Miller. Welcome back from the IL, Bobby Miller. 2 innings, a homer, 3 walks, a strikeout, a 13.50, and a 3.50. For Sherman on his bench this week, Benjamin, he goes 7 for 43.
Jeez, man. Not too many were made easies today.
Looks like only Adams was the easy one.
Yeah. 4 for 6. 42. I don't know. 183.
163. You almost got it. 2 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 2 RBIs, a walk, and 12 strikeouts. Certainly the walk would have played. The 2 runs wouldn't have gotten him within 1. His moves this week, only 3 of them. He added Graham Ashcraft, 5 1/3, a loss, 2 homers, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a 10-13, and a 188 against Pittsburgh. He adds Christian Scott to his NA and adds Spencer Schwellenbach, who was bad against Pittsburgh as well. His MVP this week goes to Jared Kelnick, 333 with a 400, 3 runs, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, a steal, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter goes to Nolan Jones, a 118 with a 211, 2 runs, a double, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. The Cy Young goes to Max Fried, 6 innings, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 150 and a 150. And the Cy Young goes to Graham Ashcraft that we just talked about. We know where Sherman's at. Bobby's got a really great win here under his belt, putting himself in contention and sitting, what's that, 16 over 500? He's certainly in this fight, man. What's his final schedule look like? That's one thing I want to know, because that's going to be, we've seen Bobby in years past bubble up and come back down and sit sort of around 500 in that 6, 7, or 8 spot in the standings. I want to see where he's at currently and where he's going to be going, man.
Well, starting with the schedule, it's arguably the most challenging going forward, since what should be one that he's expected to win against Costas. Then it goes Joe, Josh, Frank, Jason, Mike, Brian Levo, Henry, and he finishes against myself.
That's a murderer's row.
It's tough. It's a tough one. But listen, I think that a win against Costas is still very, very doable. And then you go from there on the last 8. But yeah, not pleasant. It doesn't look pretty. One thing I will say about the matchup itself is it reminded me of a 2011 first round matchup that I had. And no, sorry, it was in the semifinals. This was to go to the finals against Dan Drobnes. And I had already beaten his brother. And it was one of those Sundays where there are a lot of close stats, and they just all went in my direction. I was just watching it all just go down, just one at a time. Like everyone was just hitting, just everyone. Like you just hit the jackpot on one particular Sunday. This was what it felt like to me, and much like getting texts from other people that felt like something was going to happen. I got one from the winner of this matchup that texted me, "Gonna get waxed. Gonna get waxed." I'm pretty sure that Bobby wasn't planning on going to the salon. I'm fairly sure that this thing was going to come out this way. The only thing that should have been different is a decision made by Mike Sherman to bench Severino. When you lose innings that close, and that's one flip that could at least happen. Could you imagine? There's a big difference, dude. There's a big
Oh yeah.
difference between those two things happening.
Yeah.
And
And he wins it by what, 2/3 of an inning, I said?
yeah, yeah. So 13-6 versus 14-5, like
Mm-hmm.
that's brutal to me. That's brutal. And that's why when Bobby texted me that, I'm thinking, no, like that's not what's gonna happen. I don't even think you're losing this matchup, man. You're winning something like 11-9, 12-8, maybe 13-6 or 7, not 14-5. Like that shouldn't happen. A 13-7, I can feel comfortable looking at that and saying, okay, that's a big Sunday. The guy just outplayed him. But innings pitched needed to be flipped. And it's just brutal looking at it, just knowing that, man, Sunday after Sunday, whatever Mike Sherman does, it's the opposite. Like the move to do is the opposite. And
Mm-hmm.
it's costing stats to very, very, very important managers that need those stats. And as a player, right, as a manager, I'm getting frustrated seeing it because it's another stat that makes it more and more challenging to catch up to someone, a great manager like Bobby, a great manager like you. So it's been happening a lot. I'm hoping Mike Sherman can find a way to like actually spoil properly, but
Mm-hmm.
it just hasn't happened for him. And Bobby, he's in a good spot here. He's got a tough matchup. He's got a really slow start this week against Costas, but my God, as long as he's able to weather the storm through a very, very challenging schedule, he'll be in that Bob spot the rest of the season.
Let's hope that it does promise get him to the promised land. I mean, we've seen it in 2021. He made the playoffs, or 22.
He made it last year in 2023, and then he also his first year was 2019.
Okay, so he's made it twice in his 6 years. We're
Six
looking for
years,
number
right?
three here.
Three
We're
and
looking for
seven.
number three here, Bobby. Let's
Two
see
and
if we,
six is great, man. Like that's
absolutely,
amazing. Like when you think about it, like 2-6 is very, very good.
absolutely.
So I mean, look, Javi has been really, really solid against opponents all year, like throughout
Mhm.
all these matchups that he's had, like off more so on the offensive side, but everything else, it's basically in the tops of everything. So what else can you really ask for? Like his team is so deep, like compared to some
Yeah,
of these other teams. Just up, like hitting, pitching, it's at least going to compete with one of those two things with everybody in a given week. So I'm scared of this team. I'm scared deeply about this team and the run it could be going on towards the end.
we will see. I'm certainly loving what I see out of Bobby each and every week. Sitting 16 over 500 in fifth place. You're absolutely in this dogfight, but you have got one hell of a murderer's row to go through in order to make this happen this season. Benjamin, this has been an unbelievable show. We did our managers of the week or last show, so go check those out with Jason. Thanks for being here, buddy.
You're very welcome. You're also welcome for some horrendous math today. Hope everyone enjoyed that. But it's a blessing being able to do this with you, man, and getting to talk to the guys and getting the text to the guys and from the guys and the the aggravation that I get from people and people talking about it. And you and I spoke about it a couple of days ago, just that like everyone loves it. And that's why, like, even though we don't put any money into this, there's no money prize in it. Like, it's just something that because of the time put in and the memories, the record book that you created, it's just there's so much to this now, and it's so valuable to just be close to winning a championship or be in that playoff spot. Like there's always a story behind it because there's one or many ways where someone can make an impact by the crazy comebacks made by Josh, or Jay setting the record for ERA, or Mike Sherman spoiling Frank's season, or two teams tying with the same exact record in wins, losses, and ties after 22 weeks. There are countless that I can bring up, but every one of them is magical. Like in every championship and every final that we've had and how it all went down, that story has always been special. So I want to thank you and I want to thank the league for creating incredible story after another each year. Happy 4th of July. It's really been amazing. Thank you guys.
Happy 4th of July, guys. Until next time, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.